What if you don't need to live in pain and suffering? What if you could give up your karma and have a life of abundance and joy? What if you could start creating magic and miracles that you never thought were possible? Get ready to listen, share, and experience the magic that is you. Now, here's the host of Creating Abundance with Ease radio show, Dr. Helen Gitlevich.
Welcome. I'm Helen Gitlevich on Creating Abundance with Ease. And today, our show topic is, are soulmates real? What are soulmates? What is karma? How do we know if she is the one or he is the one? Let's talk about all those topics and see what is true and what are the lies that has been told to keep us in a fantasy of looking for the one. So what is that one? The perfect one that we are searching. And it's probably started when we were little kids, listening to the fairy tales, Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, Snow White. All of those, my prince will come and save me. Or I'll save my prince who turned into a beast. I remember when I was, I think it was in college, when I read a book about who is your prince or something like that. And the idea was that we live our lives based on certain fairy tales that we kind of liked as kids. So I started thinking. And suddenly it dawned on me, because my fairy tale was Beauty and the Beast. It wasn't Cinderella, it wasn't Snow White. I wasn't waiting for the prince to come. I actually chose the Beast, and in my mind, I could save him, I could love him enough, so he will turn into my prince. So how many of you are actually living your fairy tale, but not as a fairy tale, but as a fairy nightmare? Because that was actually what was happening to me, or what I was choosing or creating. I was creating every single relationship based on that fairy tale. I wouldn't go after normal people. I would literally go after the monsters, either alcoholic, drug addicts, people who would cheat on me, people who would not be kind, but actually would be something that's not a contribution in my life. Not until I came to Akashic Records or Access, I realized that there is a karmic connection. It's not just living the fairy tale or fairy nightmare. It's more about our own design of our life that we're choosing based on karma, based on our past contracts, past unfinished business. And when I came to Access, I'm like, wait a second. What is karma? What is all of that? So I started looking into all of that, and think about your marriage vows. When we do our marriage vows, and it's been through thousands of years, it was always till death do us part. So pretty much till we die. The body dies, but the soul or the being never does. We have immortal soul, and we have infinite being that is always, it's eternal, it's always there. So guess how many husbands, wives, soulmates, mates we have throughout centuries that we promise to love and cherish till death. Hundreds, thousands of them, right? So when we come to this lifetime, and by the way, if you don't believe in reincarnation, that's fine too, because that works in this lifetime because we promise certain things. But let's talk about reincarnation. So we have all those souls that we travel together. It's called kind of like a soul family where we alternate different roles. But let's say those 200 or 300 or 1,000 wives, husbands, because we probably change sex, I don't know, 50-50? 50% we were men, 50% were women, 50% we were lesbian, 50% we were probably gay men, because or something like that. So sexual preferences, they all change with the cultures. But think about, so we were attracted, let's say, to certain people. And that's one part. So if we're looking for just one, and we have 1,000 of them somewhere spread out around the world, how can we look for one when it's like many of them? So that's number one lie, that there is only one soulmate, twin flame, or whatever it is. Are you willing to let go of that idea that you have that soulmate? And we can use either Akashic Records tools or Access Consciousness tools. Today I'd like to use Akashic Records prayers to kind of let us release some of the karma that we have. One of the prayers I would like to use to at least let go of some of our soulmates or our spouses throughout centuries is old contracts, because the vow isn't a contract. It's a marriage. So you can repeat after me or just listen to it and just agree with that if you're listening now or in a recording when it's a podcast. So if we still hold any outstanding contracts, promises, marriages, obligations from any lifetime, space, or dimension, please God, Creator, Universe, Divine, all conscious beings of light and love, support me in releasing and revoking those contracts in their entirety. And that's as simple as that. It's a choice to let go of all of those marriages. That's why a lot of times when we meet somebody and we fall in love so deeply, it might be the love from the other lifetime, which is a marriage contract. Maybe this life we don't have anything in common. And I know a lot of people who have marriages, they don't have anything in common. But they're holding on to each other because it's like playing the old contract. So if we still hold any outstanding contracts, promises, marriages, obligations from any lifetime, space, dimension, please God, Creator, Universe, Divine, all conscious beings of light and love, support us in releasing and revoking those contracts in their entirety. Because if you have that contract, you are searching for that someone, which is probably like 500 or 1,000 of them somewhere, somehow, but you're still looking for one. And what if it's not even that? Because we have other contracts, other karmic connections, not such a pleasant one, not the soulmate connection, but something like a battlefield. Let's say you killed somebody this lifetime, and then next lifetime they killed you or tortured you, kind of like paying the debt or vendetta. And then lifetime after lifetime, you're playing the roles of victim or murderer and or torturer or abuser, it keeps circling over and over again. And when you see that person, suddenly your heart starts pounding. And you're like, oh my God, I'm in love. Well, not necessarily. That might be the case where that person 500 years ago killed you or tortured you. Or maybe you tortured him or her. And suddenly your heart is opening up and pounding, and you think they're your soulmate or twin flame. While it's not love, it might be fear, but fear and love sometimes is very difficult to distinguish because it's the same adrenaline system. So you start from the suggestion or from premise that they are the one, and that leads to maybe marriage, and then suddenly the marriage is a battlefield. That's why a lot of marriages are abusive, not pleasant, not kind, and people pretty much trying to kill each other, maybe not physically or sometimes even physically, but emotionally and mentally, and hurting their feelings. So with that case, if you have a relationship like that, of the soulmate that maybe hurt you, I would like to suggest forgiveness prayer as a tool. Because forgiveness cuts the karma at the core. I allow the forgiveness of the universe to flow through me, to cleanse me from anything that I have done, been, seen, and hurt to anyone or anything, consciously or unconsciously, in any time, space, dimension, or reality. I allow the forgiveness of the universe to flow through me, to cleanse me from anything that I have experienced that was done, been, seen, and heard to me by anyone or anything, consciously or unconsciously, in any time, space, dimension, or reality. I allow the forgiveness of the universe to flow through me, to cleanse me from anything that I have done, been, seen, and heard to me, by me, consciously or unconsciously, in any time, space, dimension, or reality. And it's time for us to go on our first break of the show. You're listening to Creating Abundance with Ease with myself, Helen Gitlevich, on the Inspired Choices Network. When we return, we'll continue to discuss the soulmates. Are they real or it's a lie? We'll be right back.
Many of us live our lives based on karma, on the past, and all the unfinished business in our lives. What would you choose if you did not have karma, or if you could choose what you desired instead? By tuning into Creating Abundance with Ease radio show with Dr. Helen Gitlevich, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to create the abundance in your life. You are an infinite being with infinite choices. Are you ready to have ease with creating abundance? Listen for Creating Abundance with Ease radio show every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, and 9 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is Creating Abundance with Ease radio show with Dr. Helen Gitlevich. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to helen.g@att.net. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Helen Gitlevich on Creating Abundance with Ease. And today our show topic is, Are Soulmates Real? So before we went to the break, we were discussing forgiveness as one of the tools to release your karma, so you're not obligated to be with that soulmate or that murderer or to be a victim in your relationships. So saying that, because we call soulmate anybody that we are attracted so much that we don't have a choice. Is that something that we desire? Or, at least for me, I would like to have a relationship where I have a choice, where I'm attracted to somebody, but not so crazy that I have to stay no matter what it is, what abuse I'm experiencing, or what abuse am I delivering. Because sometimes what I found that if the person expects the abuse, I don't have a choice. I act on it, which was weird. It was one time in my life when I realized that whatever we project, we receive. And that goes along with the soulmate situation. Because a lot of them are not even soulmates. They might be from the soul family, as we talked about. The soul family is kind of like number of souls that travel together throughout centuries, millions of years, parallel universes, whatever you call it. But those souls are together. Sometimes they play a role of spouses, sometimes parents, sometimes children, or sometimes friends. And we keep changing roles based on what we're choosing in this lifetime. So one of your soulmates from previous lifetime could be your coworker or your boss or your child. And that's why sometimes there is a weird relationship between mother and son or father and daughter. Because in previous lifetimes, they might have been spouses. Or they might have killed each other. It's like killing and loving seems to be very similar in karmic relationships. So let's do another forgiveness prayer. I'm going to change it as us instead of just I. So we allow the forgiveness of the universe to flow through us, to cleanse us from anything that we have done, been, seen, and heard to anyone or anything, consciously or unconsciously, in any time, space, dimension, or reality. We allow the forgiveness of the universe to flow through us, to cleanse us from anything that we have experienced that was done, been, seen, heard to us by anyone or anything, consciously or unconsciously, in any time, space, dimension, or reality. We allow the forgiveness of the universe to flow through us, to cleanse us from anything that we have done, been, seen, and heard to us by us, consciously or unconsciously, in any time, space, dimension, or reality. So what if we actually let go of all of that hurt, all of that problems that we encounter and release the old contracts. If we still hold any outstanding contract, promises, marriages, and obligation from any lifetime, space, or dimension, please God, Creator, Universe, Divine, all conscious beings of light and love support us in releasing and revoking those contracts in their entirety. And before we went on a break, we also were talking about the fairy tales aspect of soulmates, because we have that fantasy of how our soulmate has to look like, how he or she is supposed to act like, and what our relationship's supposed to be. What if all of that is just what it is, a fantasy and a fairy tale? What if nothing is real? And what if we actually bought that fantasy and fairy tale from the books that we read as kids? And what if we start rewriting them? Because if you have the fairy tale of Beauty and the Beast, you're automatically attracted to the beasts that you have to change. What if you, instead of being in that fairy tale, you actually choose something else? Somewhere where you're actually empowered, as well as your significant other is empowered as well. And what if it's not significant? What if you look at the relationship as something that can change? Because if we look at relationship as significant, as important, as something that it's a soulmate, feel how solid it is, unchangeable. And especially if we have projections and expectations of that person, and they have projection and expectation of us, and usually they are totally different. What if instead of that we are in judgment of each other, what if we let go of those judgments? Because if we have certain judgments and all the projections are just another way of judging the other person, because we're judging how they're supposed to act toward us. Women usually, they have to open the door, they have, like, this for me. I did expect men to be gentlemen, to open the door, to kind of take care of me, which a lot of men, because I expected that they would resist and react. Any time when you have expectation, the other person does not have a choice but either align and agree or resist and react, because we live in polarized reality. What if you actually start shifting your perspective, and instead of having the expectation, you would look at the relationship with totally fresh eyes every day and have that relationship renewed, like renewed your vows every single day? And what if you destroyed your relationship every day? And by destroying, I don't mean telling the person, oh, get the fuck out of my life. No, destroying the relationship in your mind using some tools, either the prayer that I use, releasing the old contract, or using access consciousness to clearing statement and asking to destroy and uncreate your relationship every single day energetically. And by the way, you cannot destroy what's true and real. What you're doing, you're destroying all the lies that's been collecting in the relationship based on your judgments. Because we bring our judgments from other relationships. We bring those judgments from our parents. We bring those judgments from the media, from the fairy tale, from books, from our friends, from their relationship. And energetically, we bring all our relationships from our past lives. So how much garbage are you actually bringing into the relationship? And I'm really talking about garbage because a lot of things that you're bringing in the relationship are not constructive. They're nothing more than judgments. How you expect people to behave, how you expect them to treat you. And what's interesting, a lot of it is in a subconscious or unconscious part of our brain. And a lot of them we are not even aware of. Some of those things could be as crazy as expectation of abuse because we've done something bad in the past. And when we have that expectation of being abused, the other person plays out that role, or we pick someone that will fit the role of the abuser that we expect to find this lifetime, either to limit us or to control us for some reason. And a lot of those reasons are insane. When you look at that cognitively, it's like, how can I even think that? But the subconscious mind does not have that it has all the judgments, but it doesn't have the cognitive portion of that's not logical. Because that portion is totally illogical, totally crazy. That part that creates a limitation, creates the broken relationships, that's the insane part of our brain that creates the fairy tale future, which doesn't even exist. And I guess it's time for our second break of the show. And you've been listening to Creating Abundance with Ease with myself, Helen Gitlevich, on Inspired Choices Network. When we return, we'll continue to discuss, are the soulmates real? And we'll be right back.
Many of us live our lives based on karma, on the past, and all the unfinished business in our lives. What would you choose if you did not have karma, or if you could choose what you desired instead? By tuning into Creating Abundance with Ease radio show with Dr. Helen Gitlevich, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to create the abundance in your life. You are an infinite being with infinite choices. Are you ready to have ease with creating abundance? Listen for Creating Abundance with Ease radio show every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, and 9 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is Creating Abundance with Ease radio show with Dr. Helen Gitlevich. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to helen.g@att.net. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Helen Gitlevich on Creating Abundance with Ease. And today our show topic is, are soulmates real? So before we went on the break, we were talking about forgiveness. We were talking about a lot of things. What I decided, I wanted to search some quotes about the soulmates. And they're talking about, I think something like, giving someone a piece of your soul is better than giving a piece of your heart, because souls are eternal. So people are always looking for that eternal connection, but at the same time, we are here now. So how much people are concentrated on finding the soulmate, the one where you had the connection in the past, basically going to the past, creating the future, instead of being in the present and asking, what will create my life now? What will be the contribution for me now? Instead of recreating your past. Because in your past life, that might not have been so pretty as you think it is. Because looking at stuff like slavery. So what if that soulmate that you fell in love 2,000 years ago in Egypt was your slaver that was raping you and others, but you had him as your soulmate at that time because you didn't know anything better. And now you're meeting him, let's say, on a dating site, and your heart is pounding and you're recreating that slavery again this lifetime. So what if you chose something different? So what if you actually chose to be aware and conscious instead of continuously perpetrating and perpetuating your karma? Because karma is nothing more than unfinished business. And you have a choice now. If you know that karma is unfinished business, you have a choice either to finish that, kind of like continue suffering through the wheels of samskara, or you can choose to like, excuse me, I'm not going to finish it. I'm done with the old contract. I'm releasing you. I kind of like not interested in the money that you owe, or I owe you, whatever it is in the past life that doesn't even exist anymore. What if you just started fresh each single day and ask, what will create my life right now? What am I desiring for myself? What kind of partnership would I like to have in my life? Instead of going to conclusion that my prince will come or I'll find my princess and save her. Whatever your dream is, what if those dreams are actually nightmares? And you're still in that virtual reality of the past lives. Would you let go of that right now? Thank you. And what if you let go of all those contracts that's still not allowing you to be conscious? And what if you, every time when you look at somebody that you're next to, you actually ask yourself, am I with that person because of karma? Or am I just choosing to be with them because I love being with them? It brings ease, joy. It brings happiness in my life. What if you actually start asking questions? And what if you started asking yourself, what will make me happy? What will create joy in my life? Because every relationship starts with ourselves. Because no matter how much we're looking for the one, the soulmate, is actually us. What if we are our own soulmates? And what if we started treating ourselves as the soulmate, as somebody we truly love, honor, have gratitude, and be an allowance of ourselves instead of abusing ourselves? Because remember the forgiveness prayer. It has 3 parts. It has forgiveness of others for hurting us. It has forgiveness for us hurting others. But it also has a third part, which is forgiveness for ourselves hurting ourselves. So what if we actually start choosing ourselves as the one, but not from the place of selfishness or I'm the most important thing in the whole universe and everybody else is dirt. No. It's actually very humbling when you start being vulnerable with yourself and being honest with yourself. You start treating others with the same respect. Because in the Bible it says, treat others as you treat yourself. Do unto others as you do to yourself. People think about treating others, but they totally forget the part about treating ourselves with honor, trust, gratitude, and forgiveness. We totally forget that, but that's where it starts. The soulmate connection starts with ourselves. When we are happy, when we are complete as a unit, we don't need the second person to complete us. Because when we're talking about soulmates, it's usually the completion of us. Does the infinite being, does that require completion? Does it have the part missing? Or is it an invention and a lie that part of us is missing and we need to complete ourselves with another person? No. We are complete, but we need to heal ourselves. We need to complete ourselves to kind of like be who we are with no points of view about it. And that's where we can actually connect to another person who also is a whole. And that's when it becomes a choice instead of necessity, instead of the battleground, instead of completing the old contracts. Instead of not having a choice, we actually have a choice. So by healing ourselves first, we give ourselves permission to be ourselves, but we also give permission to other people to be themselves, to be complete. So what if that is what's required for us to have that amazing relationship that's truly what we imagine in fairy tale, what the soulmate connection would feel like? So what if that's what's required? And again, I would like us to go into forgiveness. Because I know when I start talking about us not being complete, I can sense some judgments coming up about ourselves. Okay, so I should have done this, I should have done this. So what if we didn't judge ourselves? What if we forgive ourselves, forgive others, and be in total allowance of us being who we are? It doesn't mean that we have to go out and hurt other people and then forgive ourselves, that perpetual cycle of people kind of like doing something wrong, asking forgiveness, and then doing again something wrong. No, it's about choosing something different. It's about being true for who we are. And we are our hearts. We are our kind of like we can be the honor, trust, and vulnerability. We can have that intimacy with everybody. So what if that's what's required? that unconditional love, divine love, that can change the world as we know it. So we allow the forgiveness of the universe to flow through us, to cleanse us from anything that we have done, been, seen, and heard, to anyone or anything, consciously or unconsciously, in any time, space, dimension, or reality. We allow the forgiveness of the universe to flow through us, to cleanse us from anything that we have experienced, that was done, been, seen, and heard to us by anyone or anything, consciously or unconsciously, in any time, space, dimension, or reality. We allow the forgiveness of the universe to flow through us, to cleanse us from anything that we have done, been, seen, and heard to us by us, consciously or unconsciously, in any time, space, dimension, or reality. So with forgiveness, with allowance, with gratitude, that's the energy that can heal Earth, that can heal others. And what if that's what's required for the planet, for our country, to be totally at peace, totally with joy? Because we forget a lot of times when we are upset, when we're angry, when we're frustrated. What if joy and happiness can heal all of that? What if just laughter can create more than crying? What if joy can change the world more than anger and violence? It's a good place to stop and go on our third and final break of the show. And when we return, we'll discuss more about our soulmate trio and the violence and joy. And you've been listening to Creating Abundance with Ease with myself, Helen Gitlevich, on Inspired Choices Network. And we will be right back.
Many of us live our lives based on karma, on the past, and all the unfinished business in our lives. What would you choose if you did not have karma, or if you could choose what you desired instead? By tuning into Creating Abundance with Ease radio show with Dr. Helen Gitlevich, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to create the abundance in your life. You are an infinite being with infinite choices. Are you ready to have ease with creating abundance? Listen for Creating Abundance with Ease radio show every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, and 9 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is Creating Abundance with Ease radio show with Dr. Helen Gitlevich. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to helen.g@att.net. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Helen Gitlevich on Creating Abundance with Ease, and today our show topic is our soulmate trio. So before we went on a break, we were discussing forgiveness, we were discussing contracts, we were discussing soulmates, and the most important, we were discussing the relationship with ourselves. Because that's where it starts, and that's how we actually relate to everything, through our own eyes, through our own perspective. And when we have our own past, our karma, unfinished business, and our projection of what the soulmate's supposed to be, we act out in our lives those things. So when we don't get the soulmate, or when we do, it doesn't matter. A lot of times we start acting against ourselves because it never looks the same way as we predicted it or when we expected it. Because we have certain picture, even if we meet exactly what we asked for. Because I've done a lot of creative visualization, and yes, I did get the soulmate, and it was, majority was exactly like it was. But then there was part that wasn't. Because you cannot predict how the universe will answer your prayers. And of course, the judgment is on myself. I did something wrong. So what if it's not? What if it's just the challenges that we actually choosing to learn more about who we are? And that's how we develop our own self, our own being, and kind of like knowing who we are and what we desire. Because the older we get, the more we know what we desire or what we don't desire. And that's part of living our lives. But a lot of people judge themselves that they made mistakes. What if there are no mistakes? What if each relationship was exactly what it was designed to do, to show us where we are not loving ourselves, where we are not accepting ourselves or not an allowance of ourselves? And being that, because we are immortal soul, we are infinite beings, we are all of that, and yet we kind of like live our lives like that's it. That this body is, that's all it is. Those 70, 80 years that we have on this planet is all we have. What if we actually live for 1 million years? How would you treat yourself? How would you treat your body if you had the whole 1 million years to be on this planet? My guess, you would stop abusing it. You would actually choose something different. Maybe choose to be gentle with ourselves. And, oh, by the way, just for people who don't know me, I do some classes for Access Consciousness and Akashic Records. And right now there is a teleclass going on, which has nothing to do with soulmates, but yet it does. It's How to Become Money workbook that started on May 26th, twice a week for 5 weeks. We are on week 3 right now, and you can join because there are recordings. And because a lot of times money, a lot of people consider money as their soulmate. Also, I'm doing foundation in Russian language and foundation in English. One in June, one in July, and 2 body classes, one in June and one in August in Chicago area, which is Buffalo Grove, one of the suburbs. And you can find those classes on our website. I'm also doing one body class I scheduled. I know there is still isolation due to COVID, isolation going on due to COVID-19. But I scheduled a body class in Israel in September. So hopefully by then the traveling resumes and I would be able to travel to Israel to facilitate the body class. And with body classes, a lot of times that's where our connection to ourselves starts. Because our body is a conscious, sentient I wouldn't say a thing, it just is. Body is part of us and we are part of body. But we totally forget. Just like we have an idea about soulmate, and so we have an idea about our body. What if our body is also will treat as a soulmate with love and respect? Because body is such an amazing organism and conscious. How can we have a soulmate without a body? We can't. But somehow we totally ignore it. We ignore the body in a relationship. A lot of times we abuse it, feed it, like the food that we eat could be harmful. And what if we stop and take care of ourselves? That's my invitation for you right now. We all in somewhat social isolation right now at home, and that's a moment of going inside and kind of like treating ourselves with regard, with respect. And what if that's a moment to start a relationship with ourselves? To ask, how does the body would like to be treated? Or if we are in a family, asking your spouse, your significant others, how would they like to be treated? How often do we ask those questions? How often we actually go into autopilot and behave toward them in a certain way, and they behave in a certain way, and we never voice it. When I was in my marriage, the first one or the second one, my idea was my husband was supposed to guess what I desired. It was such an insane idea. But if he loves me enough, he will know what I want. I don't have to tell him. This is bizarre. Right now I understand it's bizarre, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people agree with me. That's a normal in our society. To expect that the other person will learn what we desire, what we want, what we need, just by looking at us, if they know us. No. So the invitation is just start communicating. Start learning, what do you like? Start with yourself. Maybe home play would be writing a list of what do you like, what your body likes, asking it honestly, with really caring about what you have to say. And we're coming to the end of our show, and you've been listening to me, Helen Gitlevich, on Creating Abundance with Ease. Today our show topic was Are Soulmates Real? Next week we will be here, same place, same time, on Wednesday, 11 o'clock. It will be a live show with myself, and our topic will be talking about what's important in your life. See you later.
Thank you for choosing to listen to Creating Abundance with Ease radio show. Dr. Helen Gitlevich will return next Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, and 9 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have fun using the tools of the week in your life and start creating magic in your